Michael Edward Bradford is an inspirational energy healer, a business consultant, a best-selling author and teacher. And he's here in South Africa. I got to speak to his daughter. So, we hear so much about healers and psychic surgeons and so many of all of this. And you look like this regular guy, regular clothes. You look like, one of us. So how do you get to be the healer?
Well, I think for me it started before I even came into this planet, making an agreement to make a difference. I chose a family that was dysfunctional, as with most of us.
Yeah.
And I think in the womb, I actually started learning and deciding and being trained how to take care of other people. There's something called the prenatal healer. And what that evolves out of is learning to be a healer actually while you're in the womb, in utero. So what happens, the way I see it, is the mother's having trauma and the embryo is attached to the uterus wall. Therefore, the embryo does not know the difference between it and the mother. So any kind of trauma, the embryo wants to survive. So the embryo, unborn child, starts to send the energy to the mother and absorbing the pain and the trauma so the mother stays alive.
Wow.
And I believe that I was doing that actually in the womb and then started doing that later on more and more.
So does that mean when you were quite young you were conscious of something or being different or having a gift or something?
I don't think I ever felt like I fit in or I was safe. What I was told spiritually is that I'm from a group, the Yeshua group, that is not really on this planet right now, that I am part of the Vanguard team coming in, looking at planet Earth, what does it need, what will it need in the future, how is it going to be taken into light and into the other realms, higher realms of consciousness. So I was told that I was one of the people that came down to scope out what Earth is, what people need, and also I've been sent to the most important places where the energy is needed, transformation is needed. I wanted to be a doctor, I wanted to make a difference, I wanted to help people, and I actually went into chemical engineering for pre-med.
Wow.
And wound up dropping out because I didn't have the money to continue, and wound up with a business degree and then a master's in international management, majoring in Japanese studies. So even as I went to school, I was being trained for a bigger job internationally. What I've been told, in America there's a legend called Johnny Appleseed. And Johnny Appleseed, which is actually a real man, went from village to village planting seeds to create apple trees. But he never was there for the harvest, he just kept on planting. And when I was in Dubai, I called one of my psychic friends up. There's quite a few times I'm sitting there scratching my head going, what am I doing in here? And I'll add that I've been to 55 countries so far. And Johnny Appleseed would plant these seeds and then move on. And when I was in Dubai, I scratched my head and going, what am I doing here? And I called some of my teachers and mentors and I said, what am I doing? And they said, Michael, imagine the lushest forest in the world. And I said, okay, got it. And they said, now imagine the first tree. Michael, you're going around the planet activating energy, aligning energy, bringing in new energy to help and planting a seed for the future. And coming here to South Africa, you've got a proud tradition with Nelson Mandela and many others of creating peace where something else could have occurred. And my understanding, and I'm getting chills as I'm talking to you, my understanding is South Africa is going to be a jewel in the crown of consciousness transformation on this planet.
Why is life on Earth so hard?
Well, I want to add one more point and then I'll get to that. One of the things I used to do, Rod, was scan and look around a person. I wouldn't look them in the eyes years ago. And I would constantly scan. And someone said, Michael, do you know what you're doing? I said, doing what? What are you talking about? I had no clue because I wasn't watching people's eyes. And what they said, Michael, you couldn't trust the words of your family. So you learned to read the energy and look at the energy to see the auric field shift in order for you to feel safe. So one of the things, like you were talking, one of the things it said is that what doesn't kill you will make you stronger.
Right.
Now, only the wounded healer heals. I mean, if you read a lot of books, but you have no life experience, you don't really know a lot. You do from a book level.
Sure.
I believe what happens is before we come to Earth, we actually make a choice of what we're going to do, what we're going to learn, and this is in one of my books that I'll talk about later. So we choose all that. Now, some people are choosing a lifetime where they're relaxing and recovering, and other people want a challenging lifetime of fast growth. So you could take a growth pattern that's slow, or you can say, I want a high growth pattern. Put me into a lot of trauma, I'm willing to deal with it. And other people come in and they say, I will take on the pain and suffering, leave the rest of my brothers and sisters alone. So a child will actually come in, and usually an eldest child, and take on the abuse in the family. The roughest lifetimes are only taken up by the more advanced souls. A new soul will not take on the heavy-duty trauma and drama. Only an advanced soul will do that. And some of these people that we see begging, or drug addicts or alcoholics, or people really dealing with heavy-duty stuff, they're actually very advanced souls. And they're teaching us lessons, and they're learning lessons.
I remember the teacher Neil Donald Walsh talking about Hitler or those people who've really committed atrocities, the level of darkness they have to cloak themselves in.
Absolutely.
Which is such a visceral image of the soul and how and what it has to go through in order to learn, but its true nature is light.
There's been a lot of battles for control. There's been a lot of battles for saying that my way is right. I'm actually writing a book on intuition now. And intuition, prior to the Council of 325 with Constantine, the prophets, seers, and healers were the most important people in the culture, especially with the indigenous. And I've spent time with Native American medicine people, Canadian medicine people, Eskimo shamans, Peruvian shamans. I spent weeks on end helping in the healing rooms with the psychic surgeons from the Philippines and observing what they do, how they do it. And been with the Maoris in New Zealand. Now, for me, I don't read books that much. I write them, but I don't read them. But what I love to do is go onto the land with the people. I want to feel it. I want to sense it. Now, the other part of it, I didn't go to become a healer. I had no courage, no confidence, and I go over that in my first book. I didn't want to hurt anyone. I wanted to get it perfect. I didn't know how to do it. I was scared to do it. The reason why I went was for my own healing. I wanted to heal my own pain, my own insecurities. And as I started going to these different healers, shamans, medicine people, I would sit and wait my turn. And I'd watch them work with other people. And sometimes it didn't work. And I started seeing things. And I'd say, excuse me, but I think you're approaching it wrong. I'm seeing something different. And they said, if you think you're so smart, go for it. So I did. And it worked. So as things progressed, the shamans, healers, medicine people started bringing me clients that they couldn't help. Then they started bringing me their families. Then the shamans and medicine people started coming to me. And what's interesting is the further along someone is on their spiritual path, the easier it is for me to work with them.
Why is that?
I don't know. Maybe because their commitment, maybe because I'm not sure. One of the things I've been told over and over and over again, and I didn't say this, but other people out of the blue would told me, Michael, you're a healer of healers and a teacher of teachers. That's what you came back to the planet to do. I don't work through the layers of the onion. It's almost like sticking a pin in a balloon and it popping. I can see whether it's this lifetime, past lifetime, what the core issue is that the person's dealing with. The other model I use is the weed. Like some people will see a weed in the garden, they'll cut it off the top, doesn't kill it. Cut it off the middle, cut it off at the earth. You can't see it, you think you've got it. But unless you get the taproot and heal that and shift that, the weed's going to keep growing. For me, I don't look at the issue, I'm tracking the energy. I'm almost like a guidance system that once you ask the question, please help, then the energy aligns for me to go ahead and track the energy to its source.
So are you an energy healer? I mean, do you lay on hands?
In the beginning I used my hands. Anymore, I see it differently. I see, whenever I'm working with anyone, I believe I'm working with God.
Right.
So I will not send healing energy to God. God has enough of their own. But I'm doing two things. There's two approaches to healing for me. Number one, working from the inside out, reinforcing the soul, increasing the light, the frequency and vibration of the individual. That's one approach. And the other one is working from the ego personality inward. So you're working from both ends to help that person. So I'm looking at what are the judgments? Where did the person judge themselves? Where did they shut down? Is there karma involved? One of the most shocking things for me was when I was working with one of the women who was doing healing on me, who also worked with Shirley MacLaine. And she put me on the table, lights were dim, she put acupuncture needles in me, she's doing massage, music playing, and I clicked into a past life where I was a black slave woman being brought over from Africa to the United States. And I must have been pretty attractive because they brought me, and young and attractive, they brought me on deck. I actually felt the buckets of salt water being taken and thrown on me because I must have smelled pretty bad. And then the captain raping me, and I felt the penis inside of me, and then passing me down to the other members of the crew. That was one of the most shocking things, and that was my introduction to past life memory.
Wow.
One of the other books that I'm looking at writing is one on spiritual hygiene. How do you keep yourself energetically clear? How do you keep yourself balanced? How do you keep yourself positive? And one of the things I'm asking here, I'm offering a free apprenticeship program because I would like a group of us to work together to create these materials to help more people. And learning about intuition. I'm just finishing up a book on intuition, but I want to write other books about it. If I'm doing something, I want it to be practical. I want it to be able to be applied. And I want it to be simple so people can understand it. I don't consider myself as knowing very much. However, Spirit has chosen me for two reasons. Number one, they said, Michael, you got a big mouth. They said, Michael, we're going to tell you things and you're going to repeat it with the same tone and inflection we give it to you. And the fact that I've gotten my background in business. I also ran companies and corporations. I've also was a lead consultant for the state of Oregon, a small business development center. So I worked with 72 small businesses there to help them. So I can look at an individual or I can look at a company in exactly the same way. I can walk into a corporation, I know what their profit margin should be, I know what their sales should be, I can pinpoint what's going on. So one of my other focuses is helping entrepreneurs and companies.
So are corporates comfortable with where you're coming from?
When a corporate is in pain and they have challenges, they really don't care where you get the information from if you can demonstrate how you can bring the team together,
Right.
how you can improve the bottom line. Now here's the interesting point. If you increase the performance of an organization, even 1, 2, 3%, the bottom line profit margin can increase 10% or more.
And that's that pragmatic approach.
my focus being here in South Africa is how can I serve? We're going through a lot of shifts. A lot of people feel the frustration. They feel the energy pressure. They feel tears. So people are feeling a lot of emotions as the energy is changing on the planet. And they really can't pinpoint where it's coming from. If it's from them, astrological changes, biorhythms. There's so many different ways of looking at this. But people are saying they're hungry for answers. They're hungry for change. They're hurting.
Yeah.
And the question is, how can I become more peaceful? How can I be more focused? How can I become happier? And for a lot of people, it's not, oh, I want millions of dollars or millions of rand. It's about how do I develop a way that I'm in the flow and comfortable.
So I know that you're here to do various workshops. You've written a couple of books about that. So it's kind of I know you work as an individual healer with people who've actually got issues, problems, and so on. But workshops and your books, is this really for us all how to live better in this kind of world we found ourselves in?
Yes. More and more people are learning that they can't do it by themselves. It's too big. What we're looking at doing, what the planet has to go through, the rebirthing process, is so huge. To politically, socially, economically align, it has to be a group.
Because, I mean, a lot of people feel, and I wonder what your opinion on it is that the world seems to be at a worse place than it's ever been before.
I believe we go through cycles, and astrologically you can see them too. And also, a lot of countries are running huge debts.
Yeah.
And we can't just keep printing money.
Yeah. But I know your books work for much more personal. They're for each of us, because people often feel overwhelmed. What can I do about the world? But it starts with ourselves.
Absolutely.
So you've got 2 books.
Yeah. This is my first book, The Healing Energy of Your Hands. I started writing this book because at that point Reiki was level 1, just going back early 1980s in the United States. Reiki 1 was $100, level 1, level 2 was $500, and level 3 was $10,000. I didn't have $10,000, so I decided to write a book to tell the world about healing, and it became an international bestseller in 12 languages.
Wow.
So, and this book is a sandwich. The first 77 pages is an easy read, and the middle 77 pages is about how energy gets stuck and the psychological part of healing, shut down, and wounded inner child and all that. And then the last 77 pages is more about the journey. But again, I had no courage or confidence. And then I started seeing things working. My latest book is Mastering the Human Experience, and it talks about why people come to Earth, what Earth represents. And I didn't write this because it was the greatest book in the world on spirituality, but after working with about over 20,000 clients, what I saw is people didn't have the basic foundation for understanding that they are God's creating, that they made the choices before they come to Earth. What is the process? Meeting with your guides and teachers, deciding on whether you're going to be male, female, where you're going to come into the planet, what's your lessons, what happens when the egg is fertilized, what happens when you're in the womb, what happens with birth and birth trauma, what happens 0 to age 7, what our choices are in life, what kind of lifetimes people can have. Because some people have a recovery lifetime where they've slept on, they were very high and then something happened and they fell back down, where other people are in a new lifetime, and maybe they were male in other lifetimes, now they're in a female body going, wait a minute, how does this equipment work?
So are people able to find that for themselves, or do they need an expert like you?
I believe that a lot of people can get bits and pieces. Look, I think that the world is set up to keep us humble. So I can't see myself clearly, even now, I work with 2, 3, 4 other healers, counselors, and people to keep me on target, moving forward.
Right.
My stuff keeps coming up.
Right.
We're human beings. If we're alive, we've got more work to do.
I think that's one of the greatest errors people make, is that they assume that just because you know this stuff or you're doing this stuff, that suddenly you're this clean, perfect,
Absolutely.
and then you wouldn't be here because you're on Earth, so
No.
you must be dealing with all the stuff.
My comment is, if you're still breathing, you got issues to work on.
Right.
It's also a way to keep us humble. I mean, I cannot see myself clearly. So I need other people
Yeah.
to help me to see the road ahead. Now, I'm not asking them to do it for me. I'm not asking them to take responsibility. I'll do that. Just point me in the right direction or give me a couple of keys so that I can know where the bullseye is.
Right.
And that's what I do with clients, is help them to see where it is for them to go.
Well, and I see you've got some divining rods there. I've always wanted to see those kind of things up close. I mean, you're not looking for water or gold, are you?
Well, you can. I mean, here's the point. I know lots of people, they can find water all day long, but they can't find gold or oil. But for me, I believe that it's in their mind, their own personal limitation. They don't want the responsibility, and their self-image and self-esteem will not allow them to do it. Because if you can use a dowsing rod or pendulum for one thing, in my belief system, you can use it for anything.
Makes sense to me.
Okay. Now, this is one of my play toys. It's a dowsing rod. It's spring-loaded here and spring-loaded here, so it basically floats. And I don't need the dowsing rod. However, it helps me to stay grounded and to double and triple check myself.
And so then, obviously, as I was saying, they need to keep it up. Perhaps they need to see you again and understand that it's an ongoing journey.
For me, if I have a choice, I would not have people do private sessions with me because I'm only seeing a person for an hour.
Right.
My preference is a workshop, and I don't do huge workshops unless we're dealing with a basic subject like abundance or something else. But in my personal breakthrough workshops, I'll only have 24 people. And we're working 2 whole days, and my only question is, who wants to work? So, in my belief system, we're here on earth to learn, change, grow, evolve, expand. So the ego and the personality wants to keep us safe, wants to keep us stuck. It doesn't want us to risk, doesn't want us to look bad. At the same time, the soul is saying, learn, grow. I don't care if you're rich. I don't care what kind of car you drive. I don't care how much money you got in the bank. Get out and learn and expand and find out more about who you are, what your values are, what your dreams are, what your expectations are.
So you've got some workshops coming up in Cape Town?
Yes, I'm going to do a workshop on personal breakthrough. I'm doing another one on intuition mastery. And I'm putting together a number of other 1- and 2-day workshops to help people with abundance, financial abundance, improving their relationships. I've got another one called The Ultimate Entrepreneur, where I'm just going to be working with entrepreneurs to help them.
And there's people there who's watching this and thinking, you know, I need to help myself, maybe I need to help myself. Without a book, without a workshop, is there anything that you can tell us that a person can use as their seed? You spoke about yourself being Johnny Appleseed. What is the seed that people can plant that will help them find their way?
I have tears when you're asking that question. Love, honor, respect, and support yourself. You've done the best you can. You've gone through hell, maybe. Have great compassion for yourself and keep doing better. Keep focusing on forgiveness of yourself and others. One of the most challenging people to forgive is ourselves. Forgiving other people is easy. One of the most challenging things to do is to have compassion for ourselves.
So it starts there.
I believe it starts there. And I, for one, look back over my life, and I'm not going to say I'm ashamed, but I wish I could go back and do things differently. And all I can do is do my best to change who I am now and to move forward. And that's what I would share with your audience.
Remember to go to the Facebook page to tell me your favorite programs from the year or from whenever, so I can repeat them over the upcoming holiday period. But I'll be back next week at the usual time. See you.